Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome, Fernando.
Welcome to the show.
You excited?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Let's go.
I know. Today we have the F150, and this is the newer body style F150 that we know is going to be extremely popular because, let me show you the radio and you'll understand why. Now, it has been a minute since we've filmed a full-length F150 video, and we've been doing a ton of them. It's not like we haven't. And this screen, as opposed to the beautiful big one, is becoming more and more prevalent. We see these all the time now. And we know at some point we'll be replacing these radios because, well, it's kind of basic, and a bigger, nicer screen out here would look really cool, but that's not happening yet. But integrating into this to make it sound a lot better, well, we've been doing a ton of them, and today we're going to take you on the journey of making this one. Let's roll the intro, we'll come back and I'll tell you everything that is going to be going into this guy. This system, after spending some time going back and forth and trying to figure out the budget as far as what we wanted to do in this to make it sound like he wanted. He had some thoughts. He wanted bass, he wanted a more prevalent front end. And so after going back and forth, we came up with this system for this particular vehicle. Bass wise, we're gonna be doing the Foxbox F150 enclosure. He wants big fat boomy bass. This is a big fat boomy box. It's ported. We can fit full-size woofers in it. It's gonna sound fantastic. We do tons of these here. The subwoofers are going to be the audio controls. These come with grills, which I totally love. You know, stuff rolls underneath the seat. I don't want to screw up a woofer. Power wise, we're going to do the Haley Special. So we're going to do the Key 200.4 on a front stage upgrade. It is going to be powering a set of the Morel HE602 Mark IIs. So the high efficiency, the power that this has, these things are going to just rock out. And then for sub, we're going to power it with the Key 501, doing the de-equalization and fixing anything with the signal so we can get all that 500 watts to these woofers. And of course 200.4 has its DSP built into it that it auto sets, which will make these sound fantastic. Bracket wise, we have some brackets we're going to be using, which we'll talk about when we get to it, and some other odds and ends and things like that. Now this is an F150. There's all the fun little F150 things that you have to keep in mind. It's aluminum. If you're doing an F150, always run power and ground. I can't tell you enough how important it is, especially if you're going to do something like an Amp Pro or anything like that. You definitely have to run power and ground. Here's how this is going to go. We got to start getting this car apart, taking a look at where everything is going to be. Need to get the pillars off, the doors off, the radio part out, behind the seats where the amp's going to go. So let's get started, shall we? Fernando, you ready?
I'm ready.
He's not ready. To remove the A pillar, there's this little tiny hole located down here in the bottom that in theory you should be able to put like a pick tool in and just kind of yank it off. I don't know. I don't feel safe doing that. I tried. It didn't want to move. I went to our flat metal pry tool, came in at it from the side just like this, and was able to get it in, and just the friction of pushing it in, let it pop out. And then this whole piece just comes off like this, and it kind of dangles. There's a little rubber piece that goes in here, which if this is something that's going to get in the way, you can unpop it, but totally not necessary. Behind it, there are two 10mm bolts. Carry these guys right here. These are little cool things I got from Target, and we use those for like left and right side of the car or radio or wherever. It's just a really easy way to put all the screws and parts and anything that could get lost inside of them, and then they just chill in the vehicle, or we can move them away. Either way, staying organized and putting screws in a location central to your installation is very important, as opposed to just like putting them on the floor and then you have to dig through them. This helps you not lose screws. Once that is off, grab it by the handle, give it a slight little tug, and then it's gonna pull this way up, come right out. There is the tweeter clip on it, and then that's it, pops right out. This speaker is different than what is in the BO system. This is a base model, so anything you're gonna hear on this is only for the base model F150s. The BO is totally different animal. Let's head over to the bench and I'll show you what we're gonna do to put a tweeter in here. The tweeter on these newer Fords went from a nice convenient 2-screw to a 3-screw. And it's just a standard Phillips. If you've ever done a set of tweeters in any of the F150s, the passenger side will always have this piece of foam on it that the driver's side will not have. I don't know why they do it that way, but I'm sure they have their reasons. We'll just set it back in place for right now. And this is the tweeter we're going to be removing. There's 3 clips that hold this in place. Now there are some tweeters out there that will actually just snap right into this and you don't have to do anything as far as mounting it in. If you're hoping to get lucky with that, the diameter of this tweeter is 1.62 inches. Let's take a look at the speakers we're going to be putting in here. The speakers that we're going to be using for this are the the Maximo Ultra 602 High Efficiency, or HE, Mark II's two-way 6.5-inch component set. Inside the box, you get the cool little instruction manual for it. It comes with a giant Morel sticker. It also gives you some specifications on it. Inside the box are the two 6.5. These are high efficiency, which means they don't have giant passive crossover network. Crossovers are attached to the speakers themselves for easy installation, quick and efficient. Two 6.5-inch mid bass, Morel stamped into the basket, nice size magnet, vented pole piece. The crossover is here attached, as we said, and then it is glued into place all around here, so you don't have to worry about it falling off or any of that other weird stuff. I mean, it's a Morel, it's going to be fantastic. The cone is a treated paper cone, butyl rubber surround, nice little speaker. Parts wise, we have some speaker terminals, we have some screws, mounting brackets for the tweeter cup with screws. These are the crossovers for the tweeters right here. For this installation, because we're doing the kicker key, the key automatically auto senses the tweeter, and so we will not need these for this installation. Comes with the two surface mount cups as well as the big tweeter mounts here. These come with this mount right here, which is designed if you have some flat surface that you want to set it on, corner of a dash or any place flat, you can mount it just like this. If you lose this, then you can drill a hole into something, and it has this cool little speaker cup that looks like it's angled, so you can spin it around, and that is what these brackets are for. If you push it, the tweeter will come out and the grill does come off, and then it has this cool little Morel little tri-leg that sits in front of a lot of the tweeters. This is the Maximo Ultra HE tweeter, 4 ohm, 93 dBs of efficiency. This will sound great up in that dash. I like to leave the grills on it until I'm ready to mount them somewhere, but let's grab the other one. Put all your parts back in the box just in case you need them at a later date. And of course that sticker goes back in here in case the customer wants to put it on his car. Taking a look at the Morel tweeter and how this could possibly fit together. Unfortunately, our Morel tweeter is just a little bit too big to go into this, which kind of sucks. There are some like little friction legs that are inside of here, like you can see that one right there. There's a couple of those. You could sand those out, maybe round off the top a little bit, and then we could squeeze this in. That would probably do the trick, and we'd be done and everyone would be happy. Except for me, I wouldn't sleep at night because these clips right here, they wouldn't really lock into this tweeter. That means that we're gonna have to build something, and this is quite a complex shape. It is 3 levels of height. You have low, medium, and high. They're at different positions around here. None of this kind of makes any sense as far as this. This would be ideal for 3D printing, scanning it in and doing all of that, which at some point, now that we've actually taken all the geometry for it, we will. But today we needed to get some math, and that meant we built this guy here. This is an acrylic version of what one day will be 3D printed, and it's at 3 different levels. It's shiny, and it's designed to bolt right into place just like the factory and hold our tweeter. How did we get to this point is the question. So let's take a look at the laptop and we'll kind of walk you through the process of how we got here, and then we just so happen to have a bunch of pieces here that we're going to glue together to make this piece. Our CAD software of choice is a program we got in the Apple App Store, which is called Amadine. It's a 2D app that allows us to draw a complex shape. We can also import pictures. In this case, we took a picture of our tweeter mount sitting here on our workbench and imported it in. That gave us a good idea of what we're looking at. The next thing we do is we scale it to size. We can measure one of these holes along here and then scale up. This one being the closest to the camera would be the one I would recommend. You could also put a penny in the picture or anything like that. You just want to make sure you get the scale right. Once we have that in place, we need to start drawing on top of it. The first is the first layer, which we have drawn here. This is actually the top layer. We're going to start in reverse just because the way we set it on the table. This would be the top layer, and we drew that in place and made that a layer, and we turned that off, and then we drew the middle layer, which is this guy right here. Now if you'll notice, it is a little skewed. We'll make this something other than black so it's easier to see. It's a little skewed from the drawing. So what we do for that is we'll print it in cardboard once we get it done, and that will allow us to test the shape to make sure that it fits the way we want it to. And then if we need to come back to the drawing, we'll make some corrections there. Once we had the middle, then we moved on to the bottom, which is this guy right here. Now the reason why this isn't stacked on top of the rest of these is the bottom actually had to turn into a few more more pieces, which is this right here. This is the leg we ended up using to balance out the bottom to height. We also needed a middle spacer for this to go in to raise the height of that. And then if we look at all of these pieces at the same time, you can kind of see what that looks like. Coloring is wonderful. The other thing that we needed was some way to lock it all into place, which is this layer right here. This is made out of 2 different thicknesses of acrylic and allow the inside here to slide down, and then we add the top layer to it and we can glue it in place offset, and then these screw holes will match up with the top layer here and we can screw it all together. Now if you're going, what the what? No problem. Let's head back over and we'll assemble it. So taking a closer look, you can see these are the risers that need to go into place. There's 4 of them that attach to the bottom. That's going to get us the height we need to emulate this leg right here, so it sits like that and becomes level. We'll switch A-pillars here and pull out the new one so we don't accidentally build 2 lefts. First piece we need is this one with the little notch. That is going to sit on this side like this. I like to, when gluing these together, is whatever layer needs to go down and have the pieces attached to it, is just peel off that side first. This is going to go here like this. This lets me know this is the side that needs to be glued, and these 4 little risers need to be glued to it. On these we can pull off both sides of the paper. This being the last one, I'm just going to peel off the side that I need, and I'll leave this one on there. The reason why I do that is I don't want to get glue on the back of these. The paper will protect it. The glue that we like to use is the Weld-On acrylic glue 3. This is the fast thin glue. It allows you to work and move through the process pretty quick. It does dry relatively fast, so don't dilly-dally. Gives you just a little bit of time to move it where it needs to go. That is the first layer in place. The next layer is the spyglass looking thing that is going to go over and sit like this. And I just like to check the piece because I mimicked it as much as I can, so that way I don't get it turned upside down. Test fit it first. There's a lip inside of this that allows this tweeter to sit in place, and that lip is very important. Putting the tweeter into the acrylic at this point is kind of crucial, but I don't want to accidentally glue the tweeter to place. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue here on this seam, line it up, give it a second to cure. Remove my tweeter carefully. Apply some glue to that inside lip. It gives it a nice area for the glue to ride around and get all into all the little nooks and crannies. Give it a second to cure up and test fit the tweeter again. Make sure that it didn't move. Still have time. There you go. We're good. Test fit it on the piece. We're still good there. The next step is to add the riser. Same basic idea. Put the tweeter in, slide the riser over into place. And then this area right here, we can add some glue. Just hold it in place. Give it a couple seconds to dry. Just gonna put some glue in here. And I'm gonna just roll this around like a hamster wheel. Getting that glue all over the seams inside. All right, that gets us to layer number 2. That again. And now we have the final layer, holding it up to make sure we put this on the right direction. Line it up. Give it a second, test fit it again. We're gonna give it 1 second to let it just cure up and get nice and solid. Get the tweeter to set. This lip comes right up to here. This is the locking piece here. I don't wanna peel any of this paper off of this yet. This is going to drop into place, and it's gonna line up with these 2 little eyelets here. Then we need to get that on. I can pinch it and hold it nice and tight and go in and add in all my glue. Flood this whole thing. Make sure it came through on the back side. If it didn't, add a little bit more. And I'm just gonna hold this for a couple seconds. Wait till it's nice and dry. You'll know it's dry when the paper isn't wet. And I don't wanna set this in there until it is dry because I don't want this to become mounted to this in any way. That's why I left all the paper on it, because it just makes it easier to test fit it and make sure it's all good. Remove the paper off of that. Wait for this to be thoroughly dry before you put it on here. Set this one aside. good. We will be bolting it together using two little M3 8mm Allen head screws. But while that's drying, we can go over to the other one and set this in place. Two of the factory screws will go back in. Then we'll use one of our 1-inch screws to do the third screw. And there we have it. We're bolted into place. It's all set and ready to go. I'm gonna get this over to Fernando so he can get these into the car. Now it's time to take this door panel off and show you guys how to replace the speaker in this and take the door panel off successfully so that you don't do any damage or anything like that. It is a little bit different than the older models, but not too much different, right, Fernando?
That is correct. As they mentioned, this door is a little bit different than the previous one. Typically, on the other one, you gotta remove this trim panel, and it's 2 7mm behind this. Luckily for us, this one is not the case. As you see here, under the door handle, it has this panel. Now, most people, what they do is grab a really thick plastic panel and start prying out. Now, the problem is you damage the whole entire plastic. For me, what works, grab my metal thin pry tool and start right here on the top. The reason why on the top, because next to it, that's the clip. If you start in the bottom, that's what holds the plastic, so you're gonna damage the whole thing. You're gonna make some dents on the plastic, and we don't want to do that. So start on the top, right? So we're gonna go like this, and we're just gonna go little. Then grab your plastic pry tool, and that's it. Now as soon as you move it, grab the metal one and go from the top, and it's a little bit tricky, but then it comes out. Now the funny part for me, it's Ford made these panels that typically they have, as you see right here, a groove that you can actually grab your pry tool and pry, but in this part it's all the way in the inside, so it doesn't serve a purpose. Now remove the 2 7mm. Again, grab your pry tool and start from the top and work your way around. It's another 7mm. Across the bottom of the door, we have 2 7mm. Typically you're like, okay, I'm done. There's no screws in this side. Except in this reflector, is not a light, it's just the reflector one. It's a screw right behind it. So always pay attention of that. If you start from the top, it has the clip, so we're always gonna start from the top and slowly. Okay? If you start from the bottom, you're gonna break it, and that's not gonna go back in. Remove the 7mm. This is all our screws. Start from this corner right here. You don't have to go crazy, you see? Now just go around. Now from here, grab both sides and just wiggle up. First thing we have to unplug is the front power lock and unlock. Next one is our window switcher and our handle. This is like normal, like the other ones. Press down and then pull, and that comes out. Now the door lock, you squeeze and pull down, and you have the whole thing out. The speaker, it has 4 7mm silver screws. I like to remove my clip first just to be safe. Some people, they try to pull it from the top right here, you see, and it doesn't come out. If you pull it too hard, you're gonna break it. You're gonna start from the bottom a little bit, because it has the same clip that all the panels has. You don't want to break it. All of our screws are in the bin, so we don't have to lose it.
Let's head over to the bench and we'll take a look at this and also all the parts that we're going to use to replace it. Let's take a look at this. This is the factory speaker that we just took out. I mean, we've all kind of seen this one before, I feel. Not necessarily the F150, but just a factory speaker. Plastic baskets that everyone uses now for weight, and yeah, all that other fun stuff. The thing that you have to worry about with plastic baskets, but I think most manufacturers have figured out, is gluing this magnet to this basket. You could see the glue, they did an okay job on this one. They have to use a lot of it because what will happen over time is that the magnet will actually just fall off and stick to the inside of the door. We've seen it. It's kind of funny. Treated paper cone, foam surround. Now, the one great thing about a factory speaker is this guy right here. This is the fast ring. So all you guys are like, fast ring, foam with stuff. Factory speakers have been doing this for a very long time. This allows it to come up onto the door and meet up and give you all that luscious sound through the door panel. It is an expensive option with an aftermarket. People don't always do it. I totally understand, but it is worth it to try to get some of that luscious mid bass into the car. What we'll be using to replace this is these guys right here. This is the Metra 725602. These are our speaker harnesses that will go in. It is a 4-pin. Sometimes there's tweeters located in the door and they actually loop it through the mid-range and up. This gives you the ability to do that, as well as if you want to get crazy, you can remove the excess stuff you're not using, but it matches into theirs and will allow us to just plug into our speakers, leaving the factory plug in place. One of the reasons why we do this on the newer vehicles, as opposed to if you've ever seen a video where we didn't do it on some of them, is, well, for one, these have gotten a little better, and two, we only do it on cars where this is located on the inside of the vehicle, not down here where it's going to get wet and corroded. If it is here, we have to move it out of the door. I don't like putting these in where there is water. I still don't trust them enough to do that. Bracket wise, we'll be using the Pack Audio FSB 1501. This is their universal adapter for the Ford speakers, where it comes with a 6.5, and then you can break this line out if you wanted to do a 6x9. These tabs here are designed to be removed. Grab a pair of pliers and just pull up. This is if for some reason you decided you wanted to put a 5.25 or a really small 6-inch in the door. These will be your screw provisions for that. And there you have it, your bracket. You're gonna have to add some foam around here, around the backside. It doesn't come with it. So then your speaker will drop into place. Anytime you're using some form of a bracket adapter like this, the one thing that you have to pay the most attention to is how thick is this bracket, meaning compared to the original, how much room is this going to take up? In some cases, you may have to get tricky with one of these, and if your speaker is going to stick out too far, you can mount it from the back side like this, which will help you save some of that room and allow the speaker to go into the door a little bit further if there is room to do that. In other cases, it'll fit perfectly fine on the top right here. If you decide you want to do fast rings or something like that, even though you bought a set of 6.5s, get a set of 6x9 fast rings. You want to go around this outside area here, not this area. And the reason for that is typically the door panel is manufactured with that in mind, and that they'll have a ring on the actual door panel that this is going to marry up to, and it will go and line up with this piece of foam here. And if you had a 6.5 in the center, it defeats the purpose of what they've already done. I'm gonna get these over to Fernando so he can get them into the door.
And just like that, the speaker is mounted on the place. So we put the foam on the back of the bracket, foam on the front of the bracket. Also, we add the trim, just like the factory. One of the things, we have the factory plugs. I like to put a zip tie on it so it's not just bouncing around and just making those weird noises. Now, put the door panel in reverse order and you're good to go.
In the beginning, and not like the world, but in the beginning of this video, we talked about how important it is to run a power and ground in this. This is aluminum. Run a power and ground. We like to use the Stinger marine wire because it is like a giant speaker wire, and it has a 4 gauge. They make it in an 8 gauge also. Red is constant 12 volts, yellow is ground. Drove you nuts for a while.
That's it still. Why?
Because it's marine wire. This is a fairly thick piece of wire, and getting it through the firewall in this can be a little challenging. There just so happens to be a place to drill a big hole above the factory grommet. Now, if you're one of those guys that just wants to go through the factory grommet, yes, you can. There is a cutoff piece that is kind of located right there that you can cut off and fit a power wire through. However, we found it's easier just to drill our own hole. As you can see when we go underneath, there's plenty of room to do it. You just want to stay on this side. Over here, no. Over here, yes. It's kind of in line with the main power harness. Then of course, put your grommet in place, and that will allow us to get that dual power and ground 4 gauge through there. And then when we're done, we'll insulate it with some 3M strip caulk. We'll show you that once we get to the fuse holder. The nice thing is in this particular installation, we can unlike most of our installations where we mount everything on the amp rack and we all run it forward. This one, because we're going to be going with a power distribution block, Fernando can go ahead and run the wire through the car and get it back for me to attach to the distribution block. He's already done up the ends to go into our T-spec distribution block that is an offset.
If you're gonna do your installation, just remember this is a 22 feet power and ground, just in case you want to buy some power and ground wire.
And that power wire will take us, you're thinking 22 feet, I can go over in the middle of the vehicle. It's gonna bring us right into this area right here, because it has to go down, around, over, up, through the river, across the engine compartment, and then over to the battery way over there. Anytime you're putting a multi-channel amplifier into the car, you need to be able to integrate into the car. We don't want to cut that factory harness. We want to plug right in and keep our lives nice and simple, make it easy to service, make it easy to go back to factory if need be. For that, we're going to use the LPH FD31 harness from PAC. Inside of this comes with an instruction manual and the main T harness. This is designed to plug into the back of the radio, and the back of the radio is designed to plug into here. This is the same one that you use in the Ford Bronco. If you've watched that video, they have these nice convenient plugs that you can undo. For this, since we're just doing a front stage upgrade, only ones we're gonna have to undo is the white and the gray, and it comes with these ends so we could attach it to here. It also comes with a power plug, and when you look at these, just because this has black, red, and yellow, don't assume that there's a black, red, and yellow here. In this case, there's just a black and a yellow, so this just has ground and constant 12 volts. There's no accessory on this, which is okay because the amplifier is going to use the DC offset to turn on. There's also this harness. This is the Y harness. If you were just going to add subwoofer, this allows you to clip into both of these, and then you have a left and a right that can go back to the sub amp you're installing and keep all of the speakers working. And then of course it comes with the set for the rear. There's also one more part of this that is really nice. I suggest picking up too, which is the LPH EXT17. This is a 17-foot extension. Think of this just 17 feet long, and it has both ends. So it has both the male and female, because sometimes you have to run the signal back and then come back forward to attach the speakers, which we do in this case. This kit comes with both front and rear to allow you to do that. It doesn't have anything for this. This you still have to just attach your own wires to. This just streamlines the installation and makes it a little bit easier, especially now in these cars where, as big a fan of speed wire as I am, that extra sheathing that makes it a 4-gauge, there's not a lot of room with all the wiring that goes down the side of these cars to fit that along with a dual 4-gauge. We find this and some braided loom or some JK tape, you get a much easier install, much cleaner. And in this case, we need 6 runs. We need from the radio signal back into the amplifier, and then the mid bass and tweeter coming up front, and that's it. Which Speedwire, they don't have that. Let's hop into the vehicle and I'll show you how to get the radio out so we can plug this in. The tools we're gonna need to get this dash apart: right angle with a short bit, a long bit, and a pry tool. These are both 7mm, and something to spin the bit. First step is removing this little rubber mat. Pry tool makes it easy. In the back here are 2 7mm screws. This whole piece needs to come out. There's a little tiny lip that comes underneath this area here. So you just gotta get in here with your fingers and just pull this forward. Pry up on it. Get your hands up underneath, kind of work your way around, and then one clip and the whole piece comes out. This is the radio, and it is not attached to the screen. This box, this silver box, that's the radio. The screen is totally separate. It has nothing to do with this silver box. The plug you want is located here, and it's butt up against this air conditioning that is located here, so you can't just easily remove it, which kind of sucks. To get it out, we have to remove this top metal bracket first. There's these 2 7mm here and 2 7mm here. Then this bracket will come out. Then located down below these are 4 more 7mm that are actually holding this. That's why you need the long extension. This just lifts out of place. When you get the 4 screws out, just lift up and move it around until you expose. The black harness here is the one you're looking for. There is a clip located on the top side of it. We're looking at the bottom right here, and it'll just pull right out. Prep this harness for the install. I like to remove tape that they have on here. If you're doing an install and they have a center channel, this is the center channel wire. It says it on here, center channel wire. There's a couple different applications that this harness can also be used for than just this, and you may need to have access to that wire. For example, if you buy the iData A to B harness, it does not come with this harness in the box to grab the dash and rear door speakers and also the center channel. I grab this to do that. First thing is tape up the main section here. I like to insulate each pair of wires individually. I'm not going to be using the rears. Those can get plugged in. We're not going to be using the power and ground. I like to add a zip tie, hold that in place. Now this is ready to get back into the car. I want to get that portion of the car back together as quick as possible so that I don't forget it. It's not apart for any extended period of time. These top pieces here will be accessible once that is all put back together with the exception of the top. I'll show you what I mean. Come with me back into the car. And the wire that I need right here comes from the radio, and this one goes out to the speakers. I have all this room to bring my bundle into, and this is all put back together and plugged back in. For running our tweeter wires into the dash, we've used these, we just call them fish, they're just big zip ties, and it snakes across the dash and it comes up over here. In this particular vehicle, there is some cotton jammed into the corner of the dash for noise suppression, so you just got to pull it out and we'll stuff it back in when we're done. We've done the same on the passenger side. The problem on the passenger side is that there's an airbag here, so there's no way to go that way. The glove box easily comes out. There's 2 clips on either side, and we've run the wire down, we'll run it across, and we'll run it up. Because we've already got the radio mounted back in place, make sure you snake the wiring under that metal bracket that we took out earlier. You don't want it to sit on top of it. It'll get in the way of the tray, and if you forget to do it now, then you just got to pull it all back apart. Now that we have the wire in the corner, we can stuff this cotton back into the dash. And also make sure that you add a zip tie or some form of connector here to your wire so that it doesn't fall back down in the dash. Plug the new A-pillar wiring in. Carefully line this back up. That's one done. We just need to put our 10 millimeters back in. But before we do that, I want to hop in on the other side. That way I only have to grab the drill once. This one is going to pull down into the glove box, and then since it's attached to the fish, we'll put it back up the other side. And of course we need to zip tie it into place. On the side of the glove box here, those clips I was talking about, there's one on either side, and it just slips into these. And that's it. Now I can put back in to 10 millimeters. When you're putting the handle cover back on, start at the top and work your way to the bottom, making sure to line it back up as you go. That's it, tweeters are in. It's time to figure out where we're gonna put the amplifiers. It's not like we don't know, it's more or less just kind of talking about it. And they're gonna go back here, behind the seat, in this area, all through here. Fernando already has the power wire run back. So this is the spot that we need to build an amp rack for to mount both of our amplifiers. In the amplified system, it kind of goes in this area. So there's like an amp rack that mounts to here. There's 2 screws that go in. Your factory subwoofer goes over there. And some of the brand new systems, the amplifier rack is there, but the amplifier is hidden where that square is right there. It's kind of weird, and you can't see it anymore. I guess the new thing is to hide amplifiers that get hot behind carpet that makes it even hotter. But in this case, we don't have that problem. Now we do have an amplifier rack that we've made, and we just modify it depending on what size amplifiers we're using. And it's this guy right here. In this case, we really don't need, we need like this section right here. I don't need this mount, I need that mount. I need maybe an inch off of this. I need a notch here at the bottom for the wire to come in. And then probably right about here. So just this strip right here is all I need. And we're gonna make it out with 1/4" ABS. We have Mobile Solutions template tape that will stick to it, and then we'll use our flush trim bit right there. And it should look something like this right here. There's the notch I was talking about. That means I can take this over to the bench and we can talk about some amplifiers that are gonna go in this. To power the mids and highs in this truck, we're gonna be using the Kicker Key 200.4 4-channel amplifier with DSP. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this amplifier, it's the DSP part that is the most intriguing. Let's open it up and I'll explain. First thing, anytime you open a Kicker product, says stop, call tech support if you're having a problem. That's what they're there for. Remove the top layer of foam and you're gonna have this, which is the quick start guide. Put this someplace handy. This QR code here, if you scan it, will take you off to the website where you can get the full owner's manual instead of a quick start guide. So if you're running into problems that this is not answering your questions on, which it does have a pretty in-depth step-by-step on the back side of it. In the box, the ever so cute and small amplifier. This is one of our favorite amplifiers because it does such a great job at what it does. It's small, it's compact, and it allows you to get into a DSP system without paying the DSP price. And the reason for that is what's located next to it, which is this, the microphone. This is built around a similar idea to where if you have like a sound bar or something at home where you had to put a microphone in the middle of the room and you let it set itself, basically does the same thing with this microphone, which you'll see at the end when we set it up and we'll go through the whole setup process. This allows us to install this in your car quickly and efficiently and then not have to spend hours on the laptop adjusting things and moving things around and doing that. It's good and it's bad. It has limited functionality as far as we can't change anything, but very high success rate, so most of the time we don't have to. There are some hacks and some tricks that we'll show you in the end just in case you run into a little hiccup. Also in the box is the headband. This is used for mounting the microphone. There is a fuse holder. This requires a 12-gauge power wire, a couple zip ties, and then 2 harnesses. You have your input and then your output. I'm gonna put everything we don't need back in the box right now so that we have them for later. The second amplifier going in this car is the sub amp. This is also a Kicker, and this is the Key 500.1. There again, giving us that DSP technology, but at a great price, and of course some caveat. Stop, instructions, quick start guide, scan to get your full manual if you need it. Little less inside of this because this has an actual input. This is 500 watts of power. It is a little bit bigger than the 200.4, and it just has a parts bag with your input cables, some of those zip ties, and a couple screws with an Allen. Now what makes this one different is, unlike the 200.4 that came with a microphone, that one does acoustical EQing, meaning it uses that microphone to listen to the car and then do some equalization to make it sound more like the curve that is built into the amplifier. This one, on the other hand, does an electrical RTA reading to fix any anomalies in the factory system. And the reason why that's important is because a lot of these new cars, the factory radio has a high pass filter in them to limit how low those factory speakers are going to play. When you put a subwoofer in there, that's one of the reasons why you got to go with a bigger subwoofer amp, is because the signals aren't there. This is capable, with its EQ that's internally built into this, to flatten out that signal and bring back that bass that, well, technically isn't there. That allows us to use this 500 watts more efficiently, and we can go with a smaller amplifier because we're EQing back in what is missing. When we're done, there's a setup process for this, just like the 200.4, and we'll walk you through those. But right now, what we need to do is get both of these mounted to this amp rack and figure out how we're gonna do that, along with this T-Spec VP NB2 power distribution block. Because we're running a 4-gauge power and ground, we need something that can handle that, and this will do it fantastically. Ground wire goes in through here, power wire goes into either the top or bottom, 2 fuses go across here, and then our powers and grounds come out through this end. And this will mount somewhere in this area here. We're only going to be running front, left, and right back to this system, and that front, left, and right is going to power both of these amplifiers. One thing that we are going to do is use this amplifier, though, to turn this amplifier on. That way we don't get any pops or anything like that. And the reason why we can do that is on the end of the Key 501, they have this switch right here that says DC offset on and off. If if we press it in, this will shut off the DC offset, meaning your high level input on this will no longer be looking for the 6-volt carrier wave that comes in to turn this on. Now it's going to be looking for 12 volts to be coming in through this remote. On the key 200.4, there's also a bunch of switches on the end of the amplifier. These are what are going to tell it what we want it to do. The first one is 12 volt in or DC. Factory default is 12 volt in. Flip it down for DC. Next is fader. We're not going to be using the fader, we're just using front in. So if we turn that to off, then it knows just to look for signal coming in over the front 2 speaker wires, which are white and gray. After that is compressor. Default is off. That's one of those features you got to kind of turn on and off and see which one works best for you. Then we have biamp mode. The biamp mode is going to tell it that channel 1 and 2 is going to be some form of a high frequency, whether that be a tweeter or a middler or a 3.5, and that channels 3 and 4 are just going to be a mid bass. This is what tells it what crossovers to set for the corresponding speakers. Now it is going to use the microphone to listen to see which speaker it's using. Turn that on. After that, we have kicker EQ and time delay. Those are both set to on. And then the last 2 dip switches are for the high pass filter that is going to be on channels 3 and 4 when in biamp mode, or on all channels when not in biamp mode. You have a choice of 60, 80, 120, or off. 80 is our preferred, so that means we turn both switches to the down position. Depending on what form of factory radio you have, the radio detect adds some resistance to it. In the case of this, it doesn't add enough, so we're not going to be using that switch. We'll be putting in our own load resistor back behind the radio. And then gains, we set those last, so just leave those off. Those will be set after we run the EQ. And then these 2 lights right here are the peak light indicators for those gains, so it makes it very easy to set those up. Now, as far as controls go on the 501, you have high level, low level. This will be set for high level. The gain should stay down, bass boost should stay down. The crossover and the high pass for subsonic all stay the way they are now. These are all going to get set up after we run the de-equalization on this and the equalization on that. With the preliminary settings done on these, now it's trying to figure out where we should put these. I like to put them like this because it makes it super easy for me to get to all those controls. They're not down here. And of course, the power wire just comes directly in here. It's a nice short run. And if we ever need to add anything else, we do have some room right here. I need to slide these things around and kind of make sure this is what I want to go with, and then we'll screw them into place. So after thinking about it for a couple minutes, I ended up just wiring the whole amplifier up. It just kind of happened. One thing led to another. Grabbed our wire ruler, started drilling holes and putting some zip ties on it and covering things up. There's not a lot to these, which makes installing them fantastic. And what I mean by that is, you know, these plugs make installation really nice and simple. I depinned the purple and green from here and put them back in the box because I don't like having the excess stuff. They can easily plug back in. That's why we put them back in the box. Just brings the signal wire and the bass knob wire along this side here out of the way, and everything just kind of crosses over here and goes in. The tweeter and the door speakers are all here, and everything has a plug to plug into that harness that we used earlier. So these are your ins and outs that will go into that, and then this one is our tweeter end. We'll solder that end onto our tweeter wires that we run into the center of the dash, and that'll just all clip in. There's no soldering going on. Everything just plugs in behind the radio. The bass knob wires also ran in with this. And our sub wire, we make our own speaker cup, and so this will just plug in at the sub. Makes taking it in and out super easy, and you don't have to worry about having exposed wires. 2 fuses mounted here in the bottom, and yeah, that's one of the nice things about the keys is they go in, plugs all the way around, except for here I got 2 little short power and ground. And now we can hook up our 4 gauge into this. We got to drill a hole. We got to drill a hole and put in a nutsert to hold the top here. Let's hop into the car and I'll show you what I mean. So behind this area here, this spot, there's a factory hole. You need to make it just a little bit bigger, and you can fit an M5 nutsert in it, and that will hold this in place. And then if it needs to, it can just go back to factory. Pretty cool. Power wire and ground went into place. And then there's 1 zip tie here to hold everything down. I like to remove this portion of the car here, this guy, to get the wire in and zip tie it into this far back corner. You also should remove right here that sticks out and kind of gets in the way of the wire. It's best to just flush cut that right off. You don't notice it, but your wire doesn't get pinched or anything like that. It makes things way easier. Slide the amp rack into place. black Allen head screw. And that's it. Now she's bolted in. The only thing I have to do is finish running the wires up to the front of the vehicle and get these up into the dash. Pro tip, leave some wire here in the corner, meaning don't come directly out of this and down, maybe an extra 5 or 6 inches. The reason for that is that if you ever have to service this amp rack, you're gonna pull this screw, you wanna be able to lift it up to get to this fused distribution block mounted here on the bottom. Otherwise, you gotta pull this whole side off and kind of go out sideways. Don't do that. And of course, zip tie everything into place. When you have the right amount of slack here in the corner, bring your panel back around and snap it in. When putting this panel back in, it's best to start at the bottom and get it lined up. Starting at the top, it always gets kind of bound up and it won't go in right. All right, let's take a closer look at this now that it's bolted into place. For mounting the bass knob in the Ford, there's this area right here in the light panel that is fantastic for your standard bass knob. To get to it, pull off the fuse panel here on the side. There's a bunch of clips on it, as always. And then you can get to it from behind. Push it out. There's one clip, and as you can see here, it has this beautiful place here to mount the bass knob. Most of the time when you see a panel like this that has this flat area, the circuit board goes all the way across because there's something that's supposed to be here. We found in most of these F150s and Broncos, this is an open area. It looks like there's something that snaps onto here. As you can see, it's got these clips. But for us, and for this vehicle, there isn't. So we can drill a hole and get our bass knob mounted. And there you have it. Bass knob mounted in place. Clip it back in. I don't like to leave these things unclipped. We can just leave it dangling. In this case, it's easy enough to get in and out. We'll just kind of snap it back in halfway until we get the wire ran into place. That way the lights are connected and we don't have to worry about them turning on or off if the car doing something weird. The wires all ran into their position. We now have the wire for the bass knob in place. It's zip tied to the main wiring harness that comes up to this. Plug it in. And these style 1/8 inch connectors, make sure that you plug them all the way in, push really hard, and snap it back into place. We also ran all the wires up into the dash, and now we need to get them all plugged in. These wires here are the ones coming from our amplifier. I have this connector here, this one, and this one. They're all color coded and directional, which means I have a male and a female end. All I have to do at this point is plug my green and purples together, which are my tweeters, the white and grays, which are my front mid bass, and then there's another set of white and grays that have the opposite end on them. Those are my signal going back to my amplifier. That's all we have to do here behind the dash. No soldering or anything like that. These connections make everything super easy, which means I can snap in the top plate cover and add in my 2 screws. With those last 2 screws put in, the only thing I have left to do is put the side of the car back together and get that subwoofer box right there wired up. So that, I guess, let's wire up some subs. The subwoofers we're using are these guys right here. This is the Audio Control Spike Series 10S2s. It means it's a 10-inch single voice coil 2 ohm driver. Inside the box there's a cutout sheet, some instructions, big piece of foam, and buried underneath it, our subwoofer. Audio Control does a really great job with this particular subwoofer. It's nice, it's boomy. The one thing is it is a little undersized, so you do have to keep that in mind. Make sure you measure to make sure it'll fit in your enclosure. If you're getting something that has a bigger 10-inch hole, this is 10 inches, so it's a little thinner. The grill comes pre-installed, which is nice. You can take it out by flipping up this rubber gasket, but because it comes pre-installed, it does make our job a little bit easier. On the back side, we have a nice big magnet with a rubber cover around it. It's a pretty blue. It is a single voice coil, which means there's only one set of leads over here, and then there's a little spike cap on the other side over here. In the box also is this bag of screws. It kind of runs the gamut of everything you could possibly need depending on what you're putting in. It comes with some coarse screws, comes with some machine threads, and if you're going to use the machine threads, it comes with the corresponding screw-in wood nutsert. And it's just a pretty woofer. For the speaker cup, we make our own speaker cup now. This uses a XT90 in it. And it is a plate mount. We 3D print these out of material, and then we put a cork backing on it, so this will screw into place and be sealed up. We do this because it's much cleaner, and if they ever need to remove it, we used to put ferrules on the end and shrink wrap it, make it look as pretty as we can. And we still do that if it's a factory enclosure that just has those, like a kicker box or something along those lines. On boxes, we can put our speaker cups on to provide these, just because it looks nicer. Fox Rhino lines his boxes, which means the best thing to do in order for your screws to go in and not have blowouts and not do stupid things is to pre-drill through the Rhino liner. No, I don't go all the way through. I really only go down about 1/4 of an inch, just enough to get through. I want the screw to really dig into this. Blow out all your screw holes. We're gonna use those cool screws that it came with. Get these all screwed in. I'll meet you in the back of the truck. This is the end that is gonna plug into our box. It's plenty long. It actually only needs to be right here, but that way it can slide the box around. And we have to slide the box in right now. Come this way some. The last thing we need to do is go hook up the power since the box is in. Let's go take a look at that. Fernando made his fuse holder mounted off to the side of the battery here. It bolts into place down here and is easily removable. The fuse is the stinger, so these just snap off and the base stays in place if they ever need to do anything. Ground right here. Do not go here. This device here tells the alternator when the battery is low, ramps it up, ramps it down. This is a very important piece. It's basically a clamp and the ground goes through it. If you put it on this bolt, the system is not going to know that you're drawing a bunch of current through it because it is not metered off of the positive, metered here. So make sure you go to this bolt. Plus this bolt is much easier to get on and off. This one has a stamp in it that makes getting this on and off really hard because they don't want you to accidentally pull it all off, drop it while you're changing the battery. This one just goes to this bolt here, not this bolt, this bolt. The reason why you don't use this bolt is because you can see it's black, it's anodized. In order to use this bolt, you'd have to remove all of the black anodized material off of it because this, believe it or not, acts as a great insulator and will reduce the amount of voltage that is going to get to your amplifier. This is a very common problem when using this on Mustangs. We always have to sand these things perfectly clean in order to use them. The last thing we want to take a look at is here where the power wire comes through the firewall. It is now insulated with the 3M strip caulk to keep any moisture or water or bugs or whatever from getting into the car now that we have added an extra hole to it. So going through a quick checklist, new speakers are in, A-pillars, doors are back together, obviously speakers in the doors, amps are mounted, car's just doing random stuff. These Fords do that, it's fantastic. All the plugs are behind the radio. Did we forget anything?
That's it, no?
All right, one of the most important things, and we didn't talk about this at the beginning, I know, but chances are good you're watching this all the way through. We hope anytime you do a DSP, measure the seat's location before you start sliding it back and forth. If it's yours, I get it, you're gonna put it back to where it goes. If it's somebody else's, like they are for us, because I don't drive this truck, we need to know where this person was sitting so that we can properly set our microphones in place. To measure this properly, do not use the steering wheel as a measurement piece because you may have to raise and lower this to get these screws out. So go to something that is fixed, such as the top of the dash here, the knee buster, measure the complete seat. So measure to this area here, measure to somewhere like this line right here that is an easy place to remember. Measuring to the center of the cushion, not a good idea. Find points that are easily rememberable, like this area here, or this area here, or this line here, and get all of your measurements and then measure from the floor up to the base because you may have to raise and lower the seat, or you can measure from the top here up, or from the butt to the top, whichever you prefer, but get that all measured out. You may want to measure the steering wheel from the top to here. That way you can put this back down if it needs to go back down. But the seat has to be back in its location. And of course, he doesn't have a cool little button here. And don't rely on those cool little buttons because you'd be surprised. Most people don't even know what those buttons do or how to use them. Always measure the seat. The key 200 200.4 microphone is designed to go here on the top of the headrest. There is a switch that turns on and off right here. And back here at the amplifier, it plugs into what looks like a bass knob hole on the 200.4. In fact, it is a microphone. The only speakers that should be playing while doing this test are the front speakers. The rears, if you're not using them, either need to be disconnected or faded all the way to the front. The subwoofer also needs to be turned off. For that, we just pull the input signal to it, and that shuts those down. Make sure the windows are all the way up and you're in a pretty quiet space. I mean, it's not like it has to be like, but quiet enough. Play Pink Noise that you can download from their website. I just use the Test and Tune from Educar. Make sure that your bass and treble is set to flat. Fader left and right is set to the middle. You're gonna turn this up 3/4 of the way. You're gonna hear that. Make sure the doors are unlocked. Just sit down, relax. This is the hard part. It's gonna make a whole bunch of noises. Tick, 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 tick. Do all this. Takes about 5 minutes. Just let it do its thing. And that magic sound tells us it is successful. And that's key. There's a difference between completion and successful. Successful is the happy tone, which is what they call it. And then there's a sad tone, not like that, but you get my point. That if you do it wrong, or if it sees some anomaly that you need to fix. Now, if you do have some anomaly, there is still hope. Hang on. There are some LEDs and some blinkies and some noises that'll help you diagnose the problem if you go over their website. So use that QR code to download their full owner's manual. Now we're going to talk about tips for if for some reason this didn't work out the way you wanted it to. You don't have to do this, but this just makes you feel better inside to be like, hey, you're not going to screw it up. First thing is listen to the sound. Make sure there's enough mid bass or high frequency. If there isn't, go into the radio's factory tone settings and turn it up until you get it how you like. Once you've done that and you're like pretty pleased with it, what you want to do is check to see your center image. Make sure that it's coming out of this portion of the car. If it's not, go to your balance, adjust it over however many points you feel it needs to be. And if that's perfect and you're like, oh, this sounds fantastic, what you want to do now is do the opposite. So if you move this over 2 clicks or 1 click, move it the other way 1 click. And if you went into your bass and treble and you turn the treble up 2, set it all back to 0, and turn it down 2, turn your mid-range down 1. So do the opposite of what you thought sounded good. You're kind of seeing where I'm going here. Now run the test again. When you're done, reset everything back to 0. And just like that, everything will be EQ'd the exact way you wanted it to be. Pretty cool, right? That's your hack. I need to listen to this to see if I need to do any of that, and we'll go from there. All right, once you get that all figured out, which I just did, I typically move it 1 over to the driver's side. I feel it tends to be a little biased this direction, so I put it this way so it pushes it the other way. Go back to the gains, start slowly turning up the gains, volume up where you had it, playing some dynamic music, and kind of feel it out and see which one sounds good. There is no right or wrong answer, guys, on gain setting, okay? The only wrong thing is if you blow the speakers. Use your ears, play dynamic music, start turning it up, okay? And you're gonna go right away. If you can't hear back here, have somebody else sit in the front, like your wife, somebody that has good hearing. Start cracking it up a little bit, and it'll be, oh, turn it down. You can hear it. It's immediately. It'll just, it's digital input on that thing. When it doesn't like what you're giving it, it tells you. There's also peak indicators on there if you want to do it the old-fashioned way with the test tones and stuff like that, but you do need to disconnect the speakers in order to do that, which makes it very impossible to do on the key because all the speakers plug into the same end that the power is on. That's why I don't do it that way. Put your balance and fader back in place where it was. Now we're gonna move on to the key 501, which is not done through a microphone. It is done back at the amplifier. For the key 501, you do need to go to Kicker's website and download their test tones to a thumb drive, to your phone, to something. I use Dropbox. I just store all my test files out on Dropbox. It makes it really easy to get to my phone to use them. The first is the gain match track. You have to pick whether you want 0, 5, 10, 15 dBs of overlap. I'm gonna use 10, that's what I like. I have good results with that. Press and hold the key button until this light over here blinks. Once it's blinked, start your track, turn up the gain. till the light comes on. And then start turning it down till the light no longer comes on. Let it do a full sweep or two without that light coming on, and you know you have it all set and ready to go. Now it's on to the actual tuning, and that is called the sweep. Whatever you picked for your gain match, 0, 5, 10, whatever, make sure you pick the same one for your sweep track. Now this is where the fun part comes in. That same light that you were just looking at when you're pressing the hell of the button, it blinked. Now what you need to do is press and hold it so that it blinks the first time. Keep holding it and it's gonna start blinking slower. So the first blink is like really quick, and then the second time, which is what you're looking for on this one, is like this. And it takes a couple seconds. I think 10. Sometimes it is easier if you just shut off the amp and turn it back on between these two tests. All right, we got a nice slow blink going. You're gonna hear almost nothing at first because it's very low frequency, and then it's gonna start to do what it's doing now. You can kind of hear the ground shaking. It's doing its test, and then it's gonna get up to what it almost seems an incredibly loud amount, and then it's just gonna shut right off. It takes about 44 seconds to do the whole test. This light's gonna be blinking the whole time. Here we go. And then it stops. And this is the anxiety part, because the light just went out and the amplifier is just basically sitting there doing nothing. Now what we're gonna do is stare at this amplifier until it starts to do something, like that right there. And that's it. That's all she does. You don't have to press the button, you don't have to do anything else. If you've walked away and missed it, you can see where it might be a problem. It's not, because if you hear audio, then you know it's back on, because it actually mutes the subwoofers while this is happening. So if you come back, like you went to the bathroom while it was happening, you come back and turn it on, you have bass, you know it's done its thing. That makes it pretty easy. I like to disconnect the subwoofer volume while I'm doing this, just because it makes it easier to get to the gain knob. And at this point, turn it on, make sure it works, and then start adjusting your crossovers and fun stuff like that. But the one thing you can't do, 100% you can't do, is go back and adjust the gain. The gain is set. This is all she's gonna do. So if you get done and you're like, oh man, there is no more. There is no more, you need a bigger amp. We've never had that problem, but you know, hey, it's possible. Now before you start playing bass, make sure that the bass knob up front is turned all the way up. And like all good systems, once they're all done and we're happy and we're like, yeah, this is cool, it's time to take a final listen and just see what she does. Man, I don't care what you say. I love me some Morels. Oh, it sounds so good, so ticky, so nice. What do you think, Fernando?
Sounds okay.
This guy's a putz, I swear. Yeah, sounds okay on this side. Yeah, I know. You want to be on the, he wants to be on the driver's side so he can experience the time alignment and the joy that is the 1C tune. Funny thing, we were just talking, because I'm old and he's not. I was like, you know, if you rolled up back in the 90s to one of those car shows with these two little amplifiers and it was hitting this loud and banging that hard and doing all that fun stuff, they would literally punch you in the face and be like, bro, where are you hiding your other stuff? Where's it at? These things are so impressive, they make you want to smack your mama. Wasn't that a car? That's a commercial. I feel like that was a commercial. Anyways, no smacking your mamas. Hey guys, probably need to edit that out. I probably won't, I probably should. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Fernando, if you please.
On to the next one, guys.
We hope you guys have a wonderful night as always, and we'll see you later next time. Bye.